Please like and subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and leave a comment saying I subscribe. Will ensure we reply. I'm the main thing left that stands between the $1 billion I've acquired from my folks and my two fiendish aunties, who are attempting to remove it from me in the event that they figure out how to kill me without getting found out by the police. Then they will be next in line to get the $1 billion legacy anyway. This story begins with my natural guardians who met each other at college. They were both splendid scholastics and profoundly enamored. After they graduated school, they established a biotechnology organization together, which zeroed in on creating drugs for uncommon sicknesses like toxoplasmosis. They simply figured out how to make 2 effective medications in 15 years, yet that was sufficient to sell their organization for in excess of $1 billion. And this is where the shocking tale starts. Just after my folks became very rich people, they were welcomed by my 2 aunties Becky and Elizabeth for Sunday early lunch in a bistro up in the mountains. This was whenever I'd first at any point met these aunties. They had never thought often about gathering my folks, so I was dubious about their intentions, particularly on the grounds that my folks had quite recently gotten rich. Well, during the informal breakfast, my aunties possibly discussed cash and what they would do on the off chance that they were tycoons. I was unable to stand both of them, and I was happy when our family get-together was over. However, returning home we needed to drive down the mountain, and that is the point at which we got hit by one more vehicle. We were driven past the brink of the street, and I can't recall that anything subsequently. All you must know is that I was the main survivor, a 12-year-old vagrant completely on my own. Well, not exactly. My aunties Becky and Elizabeth were my nearest family members, so they naturally turned into my gatekeepers. I recollect them racing into my clinic room, where I was lying with broken bones and inner wounds. They said, "Gracious, so you endure the auto collision? Well, that is extraordinary news. You're a particularly fortunate young lady." Those 2 witches didn't look cheerful by any means to see me alive. I thought perhaps they just loathed turning into my watchmen and dealing with me now, yet I didn't yet think them to be behind a fender bender. The police who examined the accident came to the end that somebody had coincidentally driven us off the precipice, and out of dread of going to prison, did a quick in and out. It didn't make any difference. However, I wasn't permitted to contact my folks' $1 billion legacy until I turned 18, so I needed to move in with my aunties, and keeping in mind that they could have done without me, they, for the most part, let me be. Nevertheless, following a year I began to become ill consistently. I had some new sort of contamination. My aunties chose to bring me to an expert specialist. They had found molds. He did a wide range of tests on me, and when the outcomes came in, he let me know, "I'm sorry to illuminate you that we found metastasis in your cerebrum. You have malignant growth." He showed me the X-ray sweeps, and I began to cry. I was youthful, however not moronic. I could perceive that the disease had spread. Wherever will I endure? Sadly, the disease is too cutting edge to be in any way relieved with greatest treatment and loads of chemotherapy. You could get 1 more 6 to a year to reside. However, on an individual level, I'd exhort against it. Spending your most recent couple of months in a clinic bed is definitely not an extraordinary method for dying. Rather, I prescribe you to spend time with companions and to partake in your life. So very much like my folks, I planned to bite the dust. Youthful, I returned home, and my auntie Becky asked, "So what did the specialist say?" "He let me know I got malignant growth." "What? No, those are terrible news." Becky attempted to act miserable, yet I could perceive she had a cheerful outlook on it, and no big surprise. She was my nearest close family member, and that's what she knew. Whether I passed on, she'd get my folks' $1 billion legacy, yet no part of that made a difference. Now I went to my room and considered how I would spend the most recent couple of months of my life. Becky carried food to my bed, yet I wasn't eager, and I just gazed at it. That is the point at which I saw something in the spaghetti my auntie had brought me. I could see something white, some sort of powder in the bolognese sauce, and it wasn't Parmesan cheddar, since it was completely white and too refined in some way. My instinct advised me to examine this, so when my insects left the loft, I looked wherever for garments, and to be sure I found a little plastic sack at the rear of a cabinet in the kitchen. It was loaded up with a white substance that very closely resembles the one in my bolognese. I didn't have any idea what it was. Nevertheless, I investigated our medication bureau. Perhaps they had squashed the powder from certain tablets. The vast majority of the tablets were drugs like anti-inflammatory medicine, yet I likewise found a jug of immunosuppressants. A speedy Google search let me know that they are utilized to stifle the resistant framework during organ moves. Unexpectedly, everything tapped the motivation behind why I had continually been wiped out throughout recent months, was on the grounds that my aunties had blended these tablets into my dinners and consequently switched off my safe framework. However, what might be said about the malignant growth was Dr. Maltin on my auntie's arrangement. Did they imagine that I had the disease so they could kill me and make it seem as though I had passed on from regular causes so there would be no police examination about my demise? Everything appeared to be far-fetched. I didn't figure anybody could concoct such a mind-boggling plan and execute it, yet to be certain. I did a trial and quit eating my auntie's dinners for the following couple of days. To my unexpected, I quickly began to feel improved, and that is the reason I chose to go to one more emergency clinic with an alternate specialist. I needed to get a subsequent X-ray output and think about what this sweep showed. No disease inside my cerebrum at all, so it had all been clearly false, and my aunties truly needed me dead. I was frightened, yet I likewise needed to uncover them, so I put them down at the kitchen table and let them know throughout the course of recent days I've been in touch with a legal counselor. As you would know, my guardians were well off and left me an enormous fortune. I don't have a lot of time left to live, so I chose to make a will and give my folks' fortune to a foundation for youngsters with disease. My aunties' countenances went pale. Then Becky began hollering at me, calling me a terrible individual for not passing on any cash to my family. I answered, it's my choice, and I trust it's ideal in the event that I offer everything to noble cause. Tomorrow first thing I will go to my legal counselor, sign the papers and finish my will. However, we've burned through a large number of dollars on you. We've given you food, haven and garments, and presently you won't offer us anything as a trade-off. You dissatisfied? I'm not shocked that both of you are more miserable about losing some cash than you were. The point at which I let you know I had terminal malignant growth. Then I went to my room and I locked the entryway. I realized they wouldn't let me off, like that they had moved toward killing me for quite a long time, and presently they, as it were, had one day left to dispose of me. I realized they were blowing a gasket. However, I was set up, had placed my telephone on record and secured it to the lower part of the kitchen table far away. I trusted it would record a discussion of my aunties looking at needing to kill me, so I had some hard proof against them, yet I hadn't arranged things through enough. When it got dull, Becky thumped on my entryway requesting that I emerge from my room and talk. I answered, I can't emerge since I'm going to nod off, yet she recently continued to thump, and sooner or later took steps to crush in the entryway on the off chance that I didn't come out. I could see they were frantic and considered this to be their last opportunity to kill me. Then I heard hammer blows on the entryway. They were attempting to get the entryway pivots out. My unique arrangement was to call the police assuming things got hazardous, yet my telephone was still under the table in the kitchen. Well, that is the point at which the entryway tumbled down. Both my aunties gazed at me, and nothing remained at that point but to put on my emotionless expression and imagine I was in full control. I said, goodness, hi, I've been hanging tight for both of you. They stopped and saw me befuddled and aggravated. I just called the police, they're coming. I'll let them know everything since I understand how both of you treated me. You put these tablets into my food to shut down my resistant framework and furthermore made up my disease determination. Becky went pale once more and shouted at Elizabeth, advising her to get the tablets and wash them away forever. Nobody will accept you, she said. You are now dead. And perhaps she was correct, except if my telephone under the kitchen table had recorded hard proof of them discussing their arrangement to kill me, I would have no proof that any of this had happened. I mean, on the off chance that I went to court, nobody would accept me, a 13-year-old young lady, guaranteeing there was a major connivance happening against her with her aunties attempting to kill her. I didn't know what to do, yet my auntie Becky looked averted, so I made a scramble for the way to get away from. He attempted to snatch me, however I slipped from her grip and ran into the kitchen to get my telephone and afterward got away from the loft. As I escaped, I coincidentally stumbled down the steps and fell, gravely harming my ribs and twisting my lower leg, yet I made it out once I was in the city and safe. I played the recording on my telephone, yet immediately calculated that the sound quality was very poor and one couldn't comprehend whatever my auntie had said. Anyway, I actually went to the police. However, I guaranteed that the wounds I had endured were brought about by my aunties. I said that they had hit me and pushed me down the steps. In the end, it was my auntie's statement against mine, yet the power actually permitted me to move into a protected home for youngsters younger than 18. It's okay here, yet I'm as yet terrified of my aunties. I can't help thinking about what new plans they are bringing forth to murder me and take my legacy. Please like and subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and leave a comment saying I subscribed. We'll ensure we reply.